I wanted to make these shortbread cookies seasonally appropriate and more difficult than they needed to be. Hi! I hope that everybody had a very nice holiday. I hope that everybody had a good new year. I, for one, have set my standards very low because if you set yourself up for disappointment, you will never be disappointed. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that everybody was able to stay safe this December. I hope that everybody was able to enjoy some parts of December. My holiday was very chaotic. When I was thinking about kind of what I wanted to do, coming back to this in the new year, I was already exhausted just thinking about it. So I wanted to do something that was very chill, very relaxing, something that was mostly inactive time. So we're making cookies because I love cookies, and we're making possibly the easiest cookies to ever exist. Today we are making shortbread cookies. They are very similar to regular sugar cookies in flavor profile. They're just a little more tender. The main difference between shortbread cookies and sugar cookies is that shortbread cookies don't have any eggs, there's no binder, and shortbread cookies also don't have any leaveners. There's no baking powder or baking soda or anything like that. Preparation for shortbread is very, very easy with no leaveners and no eggs. There's only 4 ingredients in these cookies, 5 if you include the flavorings, which I obviously did add. But traditional shortbread only has 4 ingredients: the butter, the sugar, the flour, and salt. And a lot of times people will use a shortbread with just those 4 ingredients as a base to like a cookie bar or like lemon bars or stuff like that. Like that base shortbread is really, really good for a base for other bars. I wanted to make these shortbread cookies seasonally appropriate and more difficult than they needed to be. So I'm also going to teach you how to candy orange peel, because why not? I mentioned candied orange peel in the first video that I ever did, which was the orange creamsicle tartlets, but I didn't actually show you how to do it. So this time I am going to show you how to do it. If you are not interested in making your life more difficult, totally understand. You can also just sub out for regular orange zest or any kind of citrus zest if you like. I believe a tablespoon of zest will be enough to kind of flavor the whole batch. As per usual, the ingredients and the full method of prep for this can be found on my blog, which I will link down below if you want to check that out. But without further ado, let's get into these cookies. So if you want to use candied orange peel in this recipe, which I highly recommend, this is actually going to start the night before. You can use this method of prep for any kind of citrus. If you want to do lemons or limes or grapefruit or anything like that, you can do this with any of them. The same rules apply. But today we're going to be doing oranges. There are 2 different ways to get the skins off. There is the technical way you're supposed to do it, and then there's the cheater's way that I think is easier for obvious reasons. So the technical way that you are supposed to do it is kind of the way if you're segmenting oranges. This is how you start to get the peel off. So you cut the tops and the bottom off, and then you hook your knife kind of in between the skin and the like meat of the orange, like in the pith, and you just kind of carve around the orange. Just saw your knife back and forth around the shape of the orange to get just the peel off. If you're really, really good at it, you can get the peel off without any of the actual orange attached to it. And you can get it off without leaving any of the white pith behind on the orange. Again, I'm not very good at it. It takes a lot of knife skills that I have since lost in order to do this correctly. But hey, if you want to practice your knife skills and you think that you are good with a knife, by all means, go right ahead. I'm going to teach you the way that you will probably be doing this. Make score marks all the way around the orange, pretty much all the way through. You don't need to cut the orange, but you just want to cut through just the skin. And then you can just use your hands to peel the peel off. if that makes sense. This method takes significantly less time. Do whatever you want with that information. But once you have your skin free from the orange, you can go ahead and chop it up. If you are using it as a garnish, you can just cut it into strips. I think looking back on this, I would have done this part a little bit differently. It'll make sense why once we get further down, but I cut mine immediately just into small little pieces, something that would incorporate really well into a cookie. So then you're gonna take all of your orange peel and put it into a pot with boiling water and let them boil for about 15 minutes. Then go ahead and drain and rinse them. This first initial boil takes all of the bitterness out of the pith and out of the skin. And then you're gonna wanna make a simple syrup. So it's gonna be equal parts water and sugar. So I think I did about 2 cups of each. And then you're gonna wanna bring that to a boil and stir it a little bit until the sugar is completely dissolved. This is a basic run-of-the-mill simple syrup. You'll see a lot of people use these with different flavorings for like coffee drinks or for alcoholic drinks. People use simple syrup to like soak their cakes with also. So knowing how to make a simple syrup is very useful in lots of different applications. So you're gonna wanna bring your simple syrup to a boil and then go ahead and add your peel to it. You can go ahead and drop the temperature down to like a medium-low heat or until it's just barely simmering. You're gonna let the orange peel simmer in the simple syrup for about 45 minutes to an hour. Just kind of stirring occasionally. It's gonna be sitting there for a while, but don't just walk away and leave it. You should never just leave things boiling on the stove. You'll know when the peels are ready to go when they have kind of like a translucency to them. If there is any pith, it's usually gotten kind of jellied by now. It looks very soft. They're very shiny. That's when pretty much they're good and candied and ready to go. So after it's been an hour, once your peels are thoroughly candied, they are shiny and a little bit translucent, your house smells amazing, go ahead and drain the peels from the simple syrup, but keep the simple syrup. I don't know what you're gonna use it for, but keep it, because that is delicious orange simple syrup that you have now. This is kind of where I would have done things a little bit differently, because once you drain it, you should really let it sit out on top of a cooling rack so that the excess simple syrup can drain off of the peel. Unfortunately, because I immediately chopped mine into little pieces, it was never going to sit on the cooling racks that I have. I don't have like a mesh cooling rack, so I just immediately put mine onto parchment, which is fine. It was just sitting in excess simple syrup then, and it took a little bit longer to dry. If you cut your orange peel into strips first instead of just dicing it immediately, it'll likely sit on a cooling rack a lot better. And then once it is dried and ready to go, you can cut it up then at that point. If you are using your candied orange peel as a garnish, once it has cooled off, and not necessarily dried, but once it has cooled off, you can toss it in granulated sugar. It gives it that really pretty crust on the outside. It's really delicious that way too. But for our application, for just putting it in cookies, I did not do that, because otherwise the exposed like candied peel would just cook and you'd have like almost like burnt sugar, I guess, in the cookies. So once your candied peel is sitting and drying, you're gonna wanna leave it that way overnight so that it can fully dry. You do not want it to be sticky at all, because otherwise it will just clump together and it'll be hard to mix into your cookies. So let it sit either on your cooling rack or just in a Tupperware or something like that. Let it dry overnight at least. If not for like 24 hours. So the next day now, we are finally ready to actually start making these cookies. These are probably the easiest cookies you will ever make. It is super similar to just regular sugar cookies. So you're gonna want to start just as you would with any cookie recipe and cream together your butter and your sugar. This recipe uses powdered sugar rather than granulated sugar. It gives it, again, a softer, more tender crumb. but you can absolutely use granulated sugar if you don't have powdered sugar. And at this point, this is when you're gonna wanna add your flavorings. I'm using almond and vanilla extract. And then you're going to want to add your dry ingredients, which in this case is just all-purpose flour and salt. And you are going to want to mix this together until it is just barely combined. Part of the beauty of shortbread and the tenderness and the crumbliness of shortbread is that you haven't overworked the dough. Once you start to overwork it, it becomes a tougher cookie. So go ahead and mix in your dry ingredients until they are just barely combined. Do not overwork it. And then we're adding our inclusions, which in this case is the candied orange peel and some dark chocolate chunks that I found in my pantry. You can use regular chocolate chips, but I think that the chunks are very pretty. If your dough is crumbly, that is fine. This next step is going to make it so that it emulsifies. The next thing that you're gonna wanna do is roll your dough or press your dough into a log shape. How fat you want to make it is kind of dependent on you and how big you want your cookies to be. If you want a lot of little cookies, then make it like longer and skinnier. If you want fewer really big cookies, make it shorter and fatter. I think if you make it around like 2 inches, that's like a really good average. So that's what I did. Wrap it in plastic wrap and leave it in the fridge to chill for at least an hour. While your dough is chilling in the fridge, go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your oven is preheated and you're ready to start baking, go ahead and pull your dough from the fridge, and then you can go ahead and start slicing. If you make your cookies really fat, they're gonna take a really long time to bake. About 1/4 of an inch-ish is like probably the best. Some of mine were a little on the fat side. So go ahead and cut your cookies out from the log and just put them on a lined baking sheet. Pretty easy. Go ahead and bake them. It takes about 12 to 15 or 16 minutes for these to bake. Again, if your cookies are thicker, they're gonna take longer. I rotated my pans halfway through because I know that the back of my oven has some hot spots. And you're gonna know that they're done when the edges are just barely golden brown, like just barely starting to color, and the bottom of the cookie has some color on it too. And then you're done. Once they're out of the oven and they've cooled, then you've made shortbread cookies. Congratulations. I dipped some of my cookies in chocolate because, again, I like to make things more difficult than they need to be. I tried to temper it, but I got impatient, so this is just regular chocolate. And if you do want to do that, I think it looks really pretty. You can also just drizzle chocolate on top. I also have some that don't have any chocolate on them. Whatever you want to do. These cookies are so freaking easy. They literally have 5 ingredients. All you have to do is mix the dough together and then cut it out and bake it. Once you learn how to make candied orange peel, it's like finding out how to make gummies. If you've never had candied orange peel before, imagine just like orange gummies. And it doesn't taste like orange flavoring, it tastes like orange. If you want to do these cookies but like lemon and lavender, that could be really good. Just plain shortbread. Or if you want to do like cranberry orange, that could also be really good. Shortbread is essentially just an empty canvas for you to do whatever you want. And I love that in a cookie. These are so good. The candied orange peel like stays soft in the cookie, it stays chewy in the cookie. It has such a really good buttery flavor that just supports the almond and the orange and the chocolate and really let them shine. So stinking good. I have a lot of stuff planned for the new year, and by that I mean a lot of really not fleshed out ideas of things that I might potentially want to try. This video, I think almost to the day, marks exactly a year since I started posting videos on YouTube, and I'm honestly very proud that I'm still doing it because I am a busy bitch, and I'm just really proud of every single one that I have put out. I put so much work into all of them. To be able to say a year later that I do still stand by every single video that I've put out and am proud of everything that I've put out, I think is pretty rare. Obviously, there are some videos that I like more than others, and there are some videos that I think I made some questionable decisions, mostly in regards to what I was wearing. Here's to another year of making food and making people smile, hopefully. I don't know. At least making myself smile. I gotta look out for me. I gotta put me first. Again, all the ingredients and the full method of prep will be on my blog, which I will link down below in the description. And if you make these cookies, or if you make a variation of these cookies, please tag me on Instagram or Twitter, or please just let me know, because I love seeing that stuff and it makes my heart so happy when you guys enjoy the recipes that I put out. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Until then, bye! This is not related. I've already started to teach myself how to crochet. Look it, I'm making a blanket.